Hello and welcome to the PM Show, your weekly roundup of what's really not happening this week on the PM Show. Look, we'll just be honest, this is going to be a wing it show, because to say we're very disappointed with all model companies at the moment is an understatement. Where is the releases? Where's anything to get excited about? There's just nothing. We're fourth quarter, you know, and this isn't just from a business point of view, this is from a modeller's point of view. I know I did a shed load of reviews last week, but this week I've got nothing to review because we've had nothing in of new kit releases.
It almost feels like they're waiting for Christmas or something.
Well, that's great, but the thing is, from a point of view, you want to get it in before Christmas, not the week before.
Well, yeah, that's a real
point. Perhaps they waited for January.
Yeah, January sales. Is this it now? What happened? It always used to be, traditionally, that, you know, if you're doing it from a calendar year, so to speak, after Christmas, it used to be a little bit quiet because everyone had all your stuff you've had in before Christmas, if you like. And then traditionally, you might get a few little releases, a little sprinkling throughout the summer. You get to October, September, October, everything ramps up. Everything gets geared up. You know, the manufacturers all start making sounds and there's noises coming through. You know, obviously we start to get releases coming through because it's all the Q4 stuff for Christmas.
Yeah.
Here we are, right, on the 25th of October, nothing. It's like, cue the tumbleweed. It's like, what's happened? I know, obviously, the world was a bit upside down a couple of years ago, you know, with COVID and stuff, but there was more releases during COVID than there is now. I'm not being funny. Ukrainian stuff has had more releases since all the troubles they've had than anything from the rest of the world. So my point is, I'm very disappointed. If I was a child and getting excited to see what Santa's bringing, I'd be like, what? I am a child, yes. So that's it. And that's probably why I am very disappointed in the modelling world at the moment, because it's just really, really quiet.
To me, there's a lot of reboxers and a lot of new boxes and not a lot of new kits. And I think that's been the whole theme of the year. It's like, well, we'll release this kit, but then we'll do 15 versions of it. Which I can see the point from a manufacturer, because you need to get your money back off your moulds. But for us, even as a business, as a shop, it's boring, because once somebody's got one version, they're probably not going to buy the 5 others that are going to follow it, are they? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's been an odd year, full stop, to be honest. I don't know. There's some really good kits, potentially, that should be out before the end of the year. Whether that actually materialises is another thing, because they might get put back and knocked into the new year. We don't know. But yeah, I agree with you. Apart from, really, like we said a previous show, the Sea King that was dropped unannounced.
Which is great, yeah.
In the summer, which was brilliant, really, because, again, that got everybody like, ooh, you know, something new, something we don't know about either, because obviously Airfix have to kind of release their stuff at the beginning of the year, and by the time we get to this part of the year, you've forgotten what happened in January or whenever it is. Tamiya are just dead in the water at the minute, let's be honest. They're so quiet, it's unbelievable. Edard, again, the same. It's all just rehashing older kits in newer boxes. Not a lot of, like, nothing new from them, is there? I can't think of anything. What was it? The Wildcat? Was it? Was that a new release this year? Was that last year?
That was this. Was it
this? That was this year, I think.
That was this year. So the Wildcat. All right. So that was their thing. ICM have had a lot of new releases, but that was more beginning, and now you're just getting a different version of. So we're waiting for their B26, which should be this quarter. I'm just looking at it. What they're obviously Hobby 2000 are reboxing older kits anyway. That's nothing new, you know. Yeah, it's just even Hobby Boss and Trumpeter and stuff are.
As I say, you've got your Mengs and Tackums of this world as well. Not being funny, where is the Meng Apache?
Yeah.
Again, that should have been.
What happened to that? Because that should have been out absolutely ages ago, and it keeps being teased and thing, but we haven't actually got it yet.
But again, with that, I'm not being funny. That's because Tackum's got theirs out, so it's nothing exciting, because Tackum's already gazumped them and beat them to it. You know what I mean? So I'm sure it's going to be a fabulous kit. It's going to be lovely and stuff, but you've already got a version of the 35th, or quite a few versions of the 35th.
Lots of versions,
So again, it's not overly exciting as a release, is it? And it's took that long for them to get it to the marketplace. Again, I think they've missed the boat, if I'm honest, because most people would have bought the Tackum version of it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we'll probably get one for a review, or you will, but I don't think there's going to be a lot between them as kits. Do you, really? I can't see how they can be.
I think they're going to be, there may be some subtle changes, but I don't think it's going to be anything massive because the Taken one is a really nice kit, and obviously from what I've seen of the main one, it's incredibly similar. So I think from a detail point of view, you're going to be par for par.
Yeah, we're going to end up being a ranty show, aren't we, today?
It is going to be, but people like us ranting.
It's going to be a very negative ranty show.
And before everyone says, yes, of course, we're looking forward to seeing the Gannet, but again,
That's end of November, though. We've got another 4 or 5 weeks.
That's going to be incredibly close to December before we see that.
This N1 Starfighter from Revell. Revell, another company whose release schedule this year has been shocking. Let's put it, it's rubbish. It's absolutely rubbish. It's just reboxes of other people's kits, reboxes of their own, and then a few splatterings of new releases. But it's mainly been in the car section.
Yeah, that's
the James Bond stuff.
Yeah.
And there you go. I can't even think of what else there is in this M1 Starfighter that's supposed to be coming out. We don't know what it's going to be like.
I was thinking earlier that unless my brain's gone cloudy, apart from the Seeking, I can't really think of what else had come out this year.
No.
But like I said, we mentioned the Hellcat, but it's been a weird year, hasn't it?
It has. I must admit, it seems to be that during COVID, it's almost like you had an excuse, but things still happened. Things still came down the line, which it was amazing it did, because I thought it wouldn't, to be honest, and especially the trouble with shipping. As you said, you had COVID, and then you had a bloody container ship stuck in the Suez, wasn't it?
But is this now a knock-on from COVID? Because when we're getting the kits from COVID, during COVID, would have been produced or being produced beforehand, wouldn't they? So I suppose were the designers then not working? So now we're seeing the knock-on effect now of that,
But then again, if you look at things like Airfix with Brandjet, they worked all the way through because they were working from home. They're still working, and still designing and improving and stuff. And I'm not being funny. I know, obviously, we are fanboys of Airfix. I'm not going to deny it. But with Airfix, it seems to be that they are probably one of the smaller fish in the sea of kit manufacturers. So if they can do it, you're wondering why the bigger ones don't and everything else. And I know there's been obviously a little bit of diversity really this year. We've seen a lot of armour things and bits and pieces around as well. But aircraft specifically, it's very, very thin on the ground with everything. Coming down the line.
Safe. It's very safe. It's very safe.
It is. Yeah,
I think that's the problem.
Armour Hobby Hurricanes out, haven't we? This year. The
48s ones, but again, we knew about those a long time before and everything. What I mean is, what I suppose I'm getting at is that this hobby thrives on, because of only for the last sort of 20, 30 years, the internet has changed this hobby for the better, I generally would say, because it creates a buzz and an atmosphere and talking points and things like that about the hobby, and that's how the hobby will grow, because if it's quiet and it's stilted as it is at the moment, then it's just going to get smaller and smaller because it's not going to grow, because there's nothing to get excited about. So why are you going to join something if it's boring? And my point is that if you need kit releases and you need new things to be happening, sort of innovations of kit designs, and that we saw slide molding or slip molding or whatever you want to call it a few years ago, and everyone got excited. Now you don't see it anymore. It's like it was a thing, and everyone's gone, it's really expensive though, so we're just going to go back putting two halves together, and all these different things. The only thing that's really expanded massively, I think, this year, and again, it may be because I've now got on the run with it, is the 3D printed stuff. We're seeing a lot of the manufacturers who used to do resin aftermarket now do 3D printed stuff because it's quicker and easier and cheaper than it is to actually, playing around with actually resin. So from that point of view, that seems to have expanded, and we've seen a lot of aftermarket type bits coming down the line and things like that. But generally, I have to say, it just seems to be, from my point of view, it's not good. It's not a healthy place to be. And the big thing is that I'm just waiting for it to sort of get in that last quarter frenzy. There's always kit releases. Traditionally, you'd always get Revell come out of a load of stuff this time of year, and the smaller sort of safe manufacturers in the gift present ones. Those types of things. Perhaps not the big expensive kits, because if you're going to buy them, you're going to buy them, aren't you? But it was always that thing about this time of year, it sort of ramped up. It got quite busy. Not being funny, from our point of view, company-wise, obviously we have Flory Fest now. We always do in October, traditionally. And then you obviously have Telford.
Yeah, but you've got to think, Phil, right? Take us, as the UK out the equation, right? We've not long had E-Day.
No.
And even Edward didn't even release a new kit.
No.
There was nothing from them. There was speculation there was going to be something. I think what they're doing something next year, aren't they? A new tool, Stuka, is it?
Yes.
On the cards for next year.
Yeah.
But again, you'd think for their own show, they would gear up for something to do something with, and even E-Day. I ain't heard much about E-Day. We've just had a SMC. All right, that's quite a figure-based, and probably armour-based show. But it's still a big show. We've got that one in Germany this weekend. That's a big show in Europe. And what I'm saying is, like, even the IPMS Nationals in the US, they've all been a bit quiet. Now, whether that's me because I'm now not on social media and Facebook and I don't see any photos, I don't know. But even when you just looking around the interweb, there's not a lot of stuff about shows, is there? You know, we obviously got Telford in 2 weeks' time. You'd think, right, well, we'll release something to gear up with Telford.
Yeah.
Nothing, is there?
Nothing.
You know, it's going to be for traders doing Telford, which obviously we're not, is if something comes out, it's going to be very short notice for him to order it to get it in time for Telford. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll just see. I think, like I say, you just got to take this year as it comes and hope for a bit more of a better schedule next year of releases. Because, like I say, when we've had stuff released, what we've pre-ordered, it's coming in batches. We've had it all in one thing, and then there's a massive drought. And then, like I say, I've got a feeling we're going to be dropped with the M1 Starfighter, the Gannet, something else as well, isn't there? This month.
The Buccaneer, isn't it? The other version of the Buccaneer.
Something else we've got, but I have to have a look. But it's all going to just come in one.
Yeah. We've got that mini art P47 out.
Mini art P47 is due in the next week or so, I think, isn't if it arrives on time. Probably that Ming Apache will turn up as well now.
Yeah.
You know, which was supposed to be the end of September. So yeah, it's all been a bit sort of feast and famine, basically.
Even at Scale Model World now, when we go a couple of weeks' time, there's not even that many companies going now that would traditionally announce the releases, would they?
No.
Like Zucamori, the company that did that kit that you did.
What, Mac 2, man?
Mac 2.
That's it. To me, it's dead in the water because Mac 2 ain't going. They're a tradition of... Yeah, but I know it sounds daft because everybody thinks, but actually, the Mac... You've got to say, we've always been there and we've seen how much Mac 2 sells.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people carry it, right, I've got a Britannia this, or I've got the Argus, or I've got whatever it is they've released for Telford. Ain't going to happen this year because...
Matt can't do his annual Argosy buy and sell it.
No, I can't do my Mac 2 phone and go, what is the...
buy it and sell it the following month.
What's on the...
But I think really, just as a general thing, though, I think that, you know, model shows help the hobby, but also it is down to sort of kit manufacturers and things like that, because it's just that buzz that keeps it going, and I just don't think it's healthy for the hobby for it just to be dribbling along almost. You know, it's like just a little brook, you know, petering along. You know, you need a river flowing in it, a bit of excitement, because it just creates a little bit of an atmosphere, even if that then spills onto the bigger shows in this world. So obviously we've got Scale Model Challenge, obviously you had like SMC the other day, obviously the US Nationals, and that is because people get excited then to go to those shows and at that show to buy said kit. But it's not just about buying brand new kits, don't get us wrong, because a lot of us build our stash and all the rest of it, and we're not worried about brand new kits, you know, but it's still because it creates that little bit of buzz. Even if you're building, you know, like I've been doing recently, pretty old kits, you know, right the way through, it's nice to feel that sort of buzz that's going on about a new kit. And you may have just half an ear out open to it and think, well, maybe in the future I might get one, you know, I won't get it now, but it just creates that sort of nice atmosphere of excitement inside the hobby. And it doesn't matter really what hobby it is, you need something sort of going on in there, because if it just becomes grey or beige, as I call it, it's that thing, isn't it, where just people, there's no excitement, so there's no real sort of need to get in, and we want to be pulling people into the hobby.
Don't you? What are you trying to get?
Yeah, you do.
Talking points, and that's what we as a show.
Try and do. Yeah, absolutely.
To have a conversation to put out to the public of like a new kit. Do we think it's good? Do we think it's bad? Do we think whatever? It's a conversation point. And at the minute, we've been going for a few weeks now, and it's hard to create something out of nothing.
Yes.
We're quite good at it, but it's getting a struggle.
Even look at our new arrivals page that Phil's got up. On there's only the Airfix Ferret and the board models Nashorn, isn't it? They're actually new kits. Or new kits. All the others are
new toolings. Yeah.
The K.
Yeah, I know, but it's still just a different version of another
of an existing kit. Yes,
but none of them are new. Well, let's be honest, they're about a month old.
I was going to say all of those are literally a month or two old as well. Yeah, purely because as I say, there's just nothing around for it. But anyway, I think it's just a shame. I think we just need that little bit of buzz, little bit of excitement, and it does come along. Don't get me wrong, because obviously when the Sea King came through, that was it was really good because it was kept really, really secret and no one knew about it. So it was one of those where in the middle of summer when it's proper quiet and everyone's thinking and not expecting anything, to be honest, when that one dropped, like I said to Airfix on the day, I said, this has worked. It's a really, really good thing because what you've done now is make a massive buzz throughout the hobby. Even if you're not into Airfix, even if you would never build an Airfix kit or a helicopter kit or it's the wrong scale, you've still created that little thing of interest where people will go off and see it right when no one's expecting it. So that's really, really good. But, again, that came and went. I've really had nothing since.
Do you think, though, because there is a lot of now kit manufacturers around the world, do you think the actual market's saturated with certain subjects, shall we say?
I think, we've spoken about this on other shows, and I think what's really happened is that companies now are playing safe. So we're seeing a lot of the same thing. So obviously like 109s and, the Spitfires of this world. So, like Qatari have come along now. They've done a Spitfire. If you're into Spitfires, you're fantastic. We've got lots of different versions of that said kit coming along down the line. As I said, Edard, obviously with the K, the 109K, but we've seen it. It's another version down. So I think companies are playing safe. So you don't get quite as excited when it's just another boxing of said type of object. But we have spoke about this, just for balance. We are now blessed by having pretty much everything in a decent scale and a decent model of. You're getting hard to find new stuff you'd get excited about. Who would have thought a few years ago we would have all gone wild to see a Gannet? Because it's not a particularly nice looking aircraft. It's a little bit nichey to say the least, but it's a Gannet and it's quite cool to see that. But I remember 5 years ago going wild because Trumpeter were kicking out stuff I never thought we would see, almost weekly it seemed, but we just don't get that anymore with some of their stuff that they brought out.
It is hard to be original at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, because but then who's bringing out that US hovercraft?
Gecko, innit?
The big one, yeah. The
Gecko are a bit left field.
Yeah,
the trouble is you could be too left field, and then they're not going to generate massive sales. Obviously, they know the market; they're not silly people. But I don't know. I prefer a bit more, like say, left field releases, shall we say, something a bit original. Even the Ferret's a bit of an original release, very British. But then that's if it's all over. That's what they're going for. That's their market. I suppose we always say, well, like say IBG as a company, well, why are they doing that Polish fighter from World War II? Who's going to buy? But they're a Polish company, they're Polish aeroplanes, and why shouldn't they do it? And,
of course.
And like the Ukrainian companies are doing what's happening over there. They're releasing figure sets or stuff to do with that. It's relevant.
I suppose someone on the continent would be thinking, well, why are Airfix bringing out a Gannet? Do you know what I mean? To them, it's sort of like it's the same as, IBG bringing out something weird, isn't it?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, I agree with you. Anyway, it is what it is. We're going to have to see within the next November's going to be the make or break month for the year for me, I think. We'll see what actually does materialise for these releases. Well, just going back to the old Sea King release, is like another problem, I think, again, is obviously come January, Revell, Airfix and a few other companies are going to give you, ICM I think do it, are going to give you their releases for the year, potentially.
Yeah.
Which again that's exciting for January. But then come fourth quarter, because obviously it'll be like, well, that's going to be second quarter, third, whatever it is, the buzz is gone. you've just lost that momentum that you would have had for sales because it's a year, or whatever, 10 months down the line before it's released.
Yeah.
When you can drop it and in a few weeks release it, or even in a month.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's still a relevant release.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest problem with companies as it is. I know, like shareholders and other things, that's why they've got to do it, justify the costs and where the money's coming from to fund it and all that. But I do think it takes something away from the releases that you could drip feed over the year to keep the excitement going. So this is definitely to manufacturers, Like I say, the one company that was really quite consistent for it was Tamiya, but they're just so. I mean, I did get to thinking about them because they're opening a new factory, which should be online at the end of this year, but we're not going to see the benefits of it until probably middle of next year potentially. But then does that mean we're going to get like new releases again? They're going to get a bit back to normal. Who knows? I don't know. But they've been really, really safe for a good 5 years at least.
Yeah,
I would say. You could say, the F-35 or the F-4, still safe releases, aren't they? Let's be honest. The armour kits that they're releasing are just standard stuff. It's standard fare that's they're good kits, they're good together, but there's nothing exciting about them.
We need a
and the car
30-second
kits,
Tamiya, don't we?
Eh?
Need a 30-second Tamiya to come from them.
And not even 30 seconds. I don't think it's down to 30 seconds.
But that was always their top tier kits they wanted, that everyone got excited about when they came out. But they say they just now seem to be, like you said, playing it safe.
Safe. All the companies are, I think.
Well, when Tamiya do ever release their P47 Thunderbolt in 30 seconds, we'll be all right.
Yes.
They'll get a couple of versions out of that. They can do 3 versions out of that and do the N as well. So Razorback and the D. So, yeah, it'd be fine. That'll be next. So
I don't know. I mean, we've had the 24 Spitfire, haven't we, from Airfix? Again, it's safe. It's a Spitfire. It's a Mark 9. It's the safest version of a Spitfire. I can see why they've done it. They're a business. Got their money. Absolutely. I'm not going to knock it. Yeah. But as a release, it's a very, very safe release that they know it's going to sell.
Yes. Yeah. But again, I think that's exactly it, is that I still maintain, and don't get me wrong, companies need a cash cow. They need something that's going to sell, and then they're going to get their money back on it, and then going forward, obviously, they'll make the profit on it. And like the Spitfire, let's face it, a 24 scale Spitfire from a British company is going to sell. Yeah,
but to play devil's advocate here, you've got your Gannet coming in between that. You've had the Ferret, you've had the Sea King were dropped.
Yeah.
Again, it's a risk doing an helicopter because, as we know, helicopters aren't the most popular of subjects. All right, Sea King's a very well-known helicopter. It's it's not an obscure one, but again, helicopters are a bit marmitey, I think.
Yeah.
You like them or you don't, and we know that from doing shows. So, and then there's been a spatter and other bits in between. So, to be fair to him, if I'm going for Tamiya here, which looks like I'm going to go, they're just safe. There's no. Yeah. They've always been safe in a way. It's Tamiya what they do, innit? And I think we expect a lot more than they actually give us, if I'm honest, release-wise. Yeah. But, there's, like I say, an F-35, great. If it's a personal thing for me, but it don't do a lot for me as an actual machine, I suppose. I don't know. I suppose it's personal views as well, isn't it? So, don't know.
Again, I suppose even an F-35, like you say, it's safe because so many countries use them now.
Yeah.
Even though they're all painted pretty much exactly the same.
Yes. To be honest, it's the F-16 of the world, isn't it? Everybody just uses F-16s, and now everyone's moving over to F-35s from it, and that's how the future will be, I think.
Well, again, from our point of view, it's boring. Because, like you say, everybody uses the same plate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for a manufacturer, it must be hard because it's like, well, if you want to do modern stuff, it's going to be an F-35. Or it's going to be an Su-27, say, if it's going to come from that side of it, or whatever it is. And everybody uses them. And it's not, we're not like the 1950s and 60s anymore and 70s old. So it is what it is, I suppose. But yeah.
It's getting that with like with air displays now, though, isn't it? Imagine what it's going to be like in 5 years' time where everybody's just using F-35s and F-16s.
Yes.
Great.
Well, that's a whole different show, that is, because I remember going there and used to have every aircraft you ever dreamed of or had on your wall as a kid, and now you go there and they're just rubbish because there's nothing there. They're all the same. Yeah. I remember I used to go to a lot of the Tiger meets many years ago as well and travel around Europe to go and see them. And literally it got to the point, it's like F-16, 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 Gripen. F-16, F-16. That's it. That's literally all you would get. And it's like the only, you're sad when you get excited about ones that have got the Pratt and Whitney engine and one's got the GE, because obviously they make the different noises on the nozzle where they go reek, reek, reek because of the pneumatic. And it's like, whoa, it looks the same. It's
suppose you've got a Rafale in there, haven't you?
Yeah, you get the odd Rafale pop in.
They get
there with the French.
The RAF turn up with a Merlin.
Yeah, occasionally. Even they used to, back in the day, turn up with a Puma occasionally. So, but yes, never mind.
Anyway, so because we got, so we just move on to questions today because there's not a lot.
There's only 2 of them as well, so I wouldn't hold your breath. All right. Okay. So questions. First one from Glenn. He says he's got a cheap Airbrush compressor that he's had for nearly 5 years now. The compressor still works fine, but he's thinking about what to get if it fails. Well, that's forward thought. You'd be like Matt, just have a pile of them from everybody else in your corner.
Yeah, don't buy them, just scrounge them.
Just say, I need a compressor. Anyway, I do the painting in the garage, the noise isn't an issue. So anyway, he's thinking of something like the Fenger or something similar. What is the benefits of having a compressor with an air tank and versus one that hasn't got one?
Right, what he needs... hold on, I'll answer in this. What he needs, if he's noise into problem, he can put in the garage, he needs a screw compressor, industrial scale. You'll never run out of it again. Yeah,
you fill it up once and it'll last you forever. 500 litre tank.
Tell you what, if I could get away with it, I'd have one.
I think really, the thing is with compressors, just go to the second question. Honestly, I have to say I've used a lot of modern compressors now which don't have a tank, and you don't get all the problems you might have had 20, 30 years ago with what we call putting, because the other ones used to have a bladder system, and basically it's like a diaphragm and it's just pushing air. And because it's pushing air and it's like put, 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 as I used to call it, you used to get the pulses come through your airbrush. Honestly, I've used a few now. Nathan on the team, he uses one and he doesn't have a tank onto it. You don't get that anymore. It's ironed itself out because modern compressors, it's not like an old-fashioned proper cylinder that's stroking away, pushing air through. They're slightly a little bit more refined these days to do it. So really, I don't think having one with a tank is necessary to have.
The only disadvantage with them is that the motor's running all of the time when you're doing it, and it can't keep going as long, can it, as a one with a...
No, because the biggest trouble you've got is temperature. So if you've got the ones that are running all the time, if you're doing a small little job, it's never a problem. But if you're spraying for more than 20 minutes, that's going to get hot. And most of them have a thermal cutout. And the trouble with thermal cutouts is when they cut out, you've got to wait for it to cool down. And if you've got paint in your airbrush, you can't even clean your airbrush because you've got no air now. So, it's just that thing about, put the lid on and stop it from drying out and wait for it to cool down, So that's the nice thing of obviously having one with a tank. But don't get into, unless you're like Matt saying, get a massive one with a huge tank, you're going to run out of air probably every minute or 2 minutes. Your tank's always going to be topping up because it's trying to put in a full tank of air. So your compressor is always making a little bit of noise. But honestly, I think nowadays, if you modern compressors have probably got better cooling than the old ones used to have, and certainly I think obviously you don't have to worry about sort of putting anymore, as I call it, where it's going put, 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 of those air pressure going through. But, if you can, there is some very nice air, compressors out there. Andy's got the most expensive one of all of us because he's got a silent one.
A shush, whatever it's called. What's it called? Your compressor?
It's a
BB8.
It's a Bambi. It's a
Bambi. That's it.
A Bambi BB8. I've got
we call it a BB8.
BB8. Yeah.
Which is. I still wouldn't buy if I to buy one again. I'd buy the Sparmax.
Yeah.
Which I've already got a Sparmax, but it's sat next to Matt or.
Right, we're swapping. Are you bringing me your Bambi and you want your Sparmax back?
No.
You know, the other thing as well is space as well, because obviously, if you look at Matt's one that he's got the smaller one. So from a case size, it's a little bit smaller. It's about this big by this big. There you go. Matt will get his out now. Look, there you go. So, and that's it. So it's not a massive amount of space. It's got a whatever litre tank on it on the bottom, and everything. It's got cut off, auto stop start, all the bits and pieces.
How much did that cost you, Matt?
Oh, I don't know. It was thousands.
When was the last time you emptied it?
Do you know what? It probably could do with doing it. I did the one at home. I don't really use this one that much here anymore, do I?
Because that's either mine or Phil's.
Yeah.
I don't know who's whose. I have no idea. We should have actually marked them to see.
Yes.
Mind you, you're not having them back to them whose it is.
Well, that's it. Yeah, never going to see it again. But no, so obviously I'm thinking if you're, if you can get one with a tank, I think it's just a little bit nicer because it's not running. Like mine's sat there now, it's full up. I can quickly run it here. If I just dump the tank. There we go. Now it's not massively noise.
Phil's now got flooding in his...
It's fine. There was a little bit of moisture in the trap, I will give you that. Got a wet finger. But as you'll hear, that's it. It's done. It's full up. So from that point of view, it's quite nice having one with a tank, but it will keep topping itself up as you're spraying. Obviously, if you've got one without a tank, it's always going to have to be running. And again, most of the modern ones aren't as noisy as the old-fashioned ones. But I'm with Matt. If I had my way, if I had a garage out on the other side of this wall, I'd put in a big one and just run a solid plastic pipe in here and take it off. And that way it can fire up once a week.
I think the thing is, with the tanks and no tanks, it is how much airbrushing you do, isn't it? It's not like they're running 24/7, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You're doing an hour's spraying or whatever it is, and then it was thinking, then you'll come back in the next day and perhaps do half an hour or 20 minutes or whatever you're spraying. So, I mean, they are designed for what they are. Let's be honest, even if it's a Fenger compressor, you've got to bear in mind the bearings aren't probably going to be as good as a Spar Max one.
Yeah.
Quality of goods, but it will last you a certain amount of time and do you the job. So,
yes.
Pay your money, take your choice, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. But, as I said, it's one of those ones. If you're doing definitely smaller kits, I think you're fine without a tank. If you're doing bigger ones, I'd probably get one with a tank just because it's just a little bit nicer. You haven't got that thing burning itself out, as you say. But as Matt quite rightly points out, I used to have a Ripmax compressor years ago, and literally was on a foot pedal for the on-off. It was great. It's like a sewing machine. Click. But the thing is, the bearings used to burn out on it all the time. And then eventually I went to a engineering company, and said, can you just redo us a bearing on this? And literally they put in quality bearings, never had a problem with it again. It was fine. And I gave that one away years ago to a member of that particular one. As far as I know, it's still going now. But again, it's one of those things. If you buy cheap, you might find that over time you get a bit of knock-in. And at some point, the bearings will lock, because I've known that sound. You get that dang, 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 dang as it's going. And then one day you're going to turn it on. It's not going to do anything because it would have ceased. But again, that's the difference of a good one. But I can honestly say the Spar Max ones, the reason I've championed them forever, the one that Matt had, I had it for like 6 years before he had it. And it's whichever one he's using, it's still working fine. And I've had this one down here now well over 5-6 years now, and it's on all the time. I'm probably using it every single day, and it's never dropped a beat yet or anything else. It's one of those solid, reliable, just keep going. Whereas before that, I had some cheaper ones, and within a year they used to play up, and something would start to go.
Again, though, to be fair with that though, you would have been doing a lot of modelling.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm doing a lot more
probably
than
more than the average person.
Yeah.
So you've got to think of that. How your compressor was being used was more industrial rather than
absolutely.
hobbyist, because it was your job. So again, you've got to take that into account. I mean, like I say, Nathan's got a cheapy one, and it seems to have lasted him, and he's actually quite a prolific modeler. He's not.
Yeah, that's it.
To be fair, he does rattle them through when he's on it. So he's probably.
I think that one's new this year into that he's got now, because his other one painting, but
it did. But
that's a good few years, don't they? And
that was a cheapo one, wasn't it? That was a.
He does do. Yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah, I think
he's gone with a tankless one because it's in his garage. He gets moisture because it's cold, obviously at night. He was getting a lot of moisture in his tank, so it was rusting away.
That's the other thing you got to think of, because Andy's just hit nail on the head, because my old Revell one did get a hole in it. It rotted through, and I took it and welded it back up the little pinhole.
Yeah.
So obviously it was losing. But that's an old compressor. That's good 20 odd years old at least now. I don't know how old it is, but moisture in your tank, obviously, moisture creates rust, it rots, and it will eventually rot through, and you will get pinholes in it. So I suppose there is things to have a tankless one, as in, like I say, depending on where. If you're in the house, it's not so bad, is there? There's always moisture in the air. Just breathing creates moisture, but
if you're in your shed or garage.
But if you're doing it in a garage, obviously winter time and all that, you've got a bit of that.
And especially if you're in somewhere really cold and it freezes.
Yeah, if you're in the Arctic Circle.
Or anywhere sort of, anywhere colder than we get, you don't want it freezing in your tank either, because it's going to expand in your various areas and crack stuff.
Yorkshire gets pretty cold this time of year.
No, beautiful today.
Sunny here today, we're all right. Okay, next question is from Kane. He's basically just asking about alternatives for third gen thinners, because he has real trouble getting third gen thinners, acrylic thinners this is, in New Zealand. And obviously this goes on to our one we were talking about yesterday, which you haven't seen it, I highly recommend, because we were talking about paints and synthetic paints, and then it turned into all paints actually by the end of the show.
There you go. There's your alternatives if you can get them.
Yeah, there you go.
So
and that's what he's saying here about, easiest thinners you can get is X28 and obviously Aquitis thinner as well, which are those two. That's what you want to go for. Straightforward,
I mean, I missed yesterday's show because I was busy. I fell asleep on settee. But so were you talking about using that thinners to thin other paints with, I presume?
No, we were just on about synthetic acrylics, so XF range and aqueous range.
Yeah. So just I was trying to get in my mind why, if you can get the third gen paints, why can't you get the thinners, or is he wanting to use the third gen thinners on other paints rather than? Yeah.
He says here that weirdly that they can't in New Zealand and overseas companies won't send certain chemicals directly due to import restrictions.
Yeah.
So they're obviously having trouble getting thinners in, but the paint's all right.
But how can they get this in? Because they've all got, if you can, you know what I mean? What's the difference between them importing X28 and this? Because they've all got a flammable label on to a normal Gen 3 thinner.
Yeah, that's it. I don't understand that either. There's no real right or wrong to that.
No.
But I would say, like Matt says, either one of those will work as well. There's something, and I still maintain, I don't know what it is, but there's something in the third gen acrylic thinners that just works really, really well with their paint. So if you're using third gen paints, I would use third gen thinners, because I don't know what it is. It's just something that makes it work, and I don't get tip dry or clogging or anything else which I might get with other products. But you can obviously just put a little bit of retarder in it and just get around that problem.
You've got to bear that in mind. The Gen 3 thinner is not this.
No.
This is a decent alternative and it will work, but it's not their own thinners with their own paint. So just make that clear,
Yeah. They're all alcohol-based, but they've all got their own secret recipes, but there's something in the third gen one.
We always said it. This is designed for the X and XF range. That's designed for the aqueous range, and obviously the Gen 3 thinners is designed for the Gen 3 range, and that's, rule of thumb. Stick with thinners.
I was just wondering whether he wanted to use Gen 3 thinners, say, to thin Tamiya or aqueous paints, because that's what he's got, and he wants to try it to thin it, but obviously can't get it. But
because also he does say in there about levelling thinners, you don't want to put lacquers into third gen paint. You can do it, and I've done it and I've demoed it and showed it, but you have to really thin it to an inch of its life, literally, so it's like dirty thinners. It does work and it does spray, but it's not really what it's designed to do, because as we spoke about on yesterday's show, we were talking about the matrix of paint, and if you do over thin it, at some point it's going to tear. So the paint can't bind to itself, and it's not a smooth, coat. The pigments are going to start to, come out of, fall out of separation and stuff.
It just separates,
I have done it, and I know some people have said to me that they've done it as well, and it's worked beautifully. And I did it, and it does work, but it's on the cusp of it not working, if you know what I mean. And like we were talking in on yesterday's show, the great thing about synthetic paints is that they've got a very wide area of safe usage, if you like. You can thin it between 30 to 70% both ways. It's going to work. Yes, obviously you're going to have texture and things like that into it, but it will spray it. But obviously as soon as you start putting lacquer paints into acrylics, they're going to thicken up, they're going to go like chewing gum, and then you have to over thin them and break them down to get them to work. And it's not really what it's designed to do. But as I say, as a safe alternative, if you wanted to do it and you couldn't get third gen, then I would say X28 because it's not that far off. And to go along with that one, if you can get it, Vallejo's acrylic thinner is actually very similar to X28 as well. Not that I've seen it for ages because for some reason we can't get it in the UK at the moment, a bit like their thinners, their airbrush cleaner. But again, like there's an old trick we were talking about. I was going to go on, but to be honest, we already went over by like 25 minutes yesterday. So, but you can actually use airbrush cleaner in synthetics and it works really well. And because it's a cleaner, it's got a little bit of soap or whatever's into it that cleans, acts as a retarder. And I remember the old trick of doing Vallejo Model Air. Putting a little drop of airbrush cleaner in it, and it just used to go then, and you had no problem with it. It gave you a really smooth finish. I think that's slightly before they changed their formulas now, but there's all these little tips and tricks to paint. But what me and Matt were getting at, a lot of it was that if you can stick with the own brand's thinner, so if you've got Tamiya X28, if you've got the gun stuff, that's why it's here, we were talking about yesterday, then obviously their thinners as well. And if you've got a third gen, if you can use their thinners, you're on a safe path, and it's going to work. So
there you go. Yeah.
Good job. Right. Okie dokie. We are live with you back tomorrow night at 7:30. So if you'd like to join me and Matt for that particular show, Andy's allowed to have it off because he needs to have a meal with his wife to pay up for last week because we got in trouble for dragging him away with us. So that's it. Take away tomorrow night, Andy. You'll be all right.
Thank you.
Tell Shell you're free. But me and Matt will be with you as well. So I'm going to be doing some spraying because we spoke about it on the show. We're talking primers. So I'm holding off giving this a coat of primer. So I'll be doing that live in the show. I'm sure Matt will be carrying on with his bits and pieces as well.
Yeah,
so
probably.
To join us for that one. Go on.
We're looking specials while we're...
Oh, thought we didn't bother because there's sod all going on.
There's a few extra in specials.
Have a look. Some F15s.
Yeah, we've got some F15s and the Gigant.
Gigant, yes.
Is on sale and a few other bits and bobs. So limited numbers, so grab them while you can.
Absolutely. And obviously, don't forget, we spoke a lot about it yesterday, so I won't go over it, but paints. We've got a lot of them. So if you do need paints and thinners and stuff like that, they're all back in stock, barring a couple of little ones like obviously leveling thinners. But the rest of them are all back in. All right. So if you do need your thinners for your said paint, including the third gen, and I'll be honest with you, grab them because for some reason, no matter how many we bring in, we sell out. So, but yeah, so grab those before they go out of stock again. But we've got those back in as well. So if you do need your thinners and your bits and pieces, then we've got all of those as well covered for you on there. So, because you can't build a new kit, you might as well build your stash. So
you add. So you need paints and glues and thinners.
So you need paints and glues, and we've got them. We've got lots of them. It's fine.
Of them. Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got you covered on that one, and we can get those straight out to you as well. And so we've got everything. We've got your Tamiyas, we've got your AKs, we've got your third gens, we've got all your paints you can ever want or need. So you're covered with that one as well. Good job. Right. Okay. As always, if you've got any problems, anything you need, shoot us a message over at sales@pmodelsuk.com, and Andy will get back to you on that one probably.
Yep. Will do.
Or we'll get forward around to him eventually as well. So yes, good job with that one. Okie dokie then, guys. We will leave it right there. Thank you very much for joining us today. We will see you all again very soon with hopefully some new kit releases.
Yay.
But I wouldn't hold your breath. So yes. Anyway, we will see you again soon. Happy modelling. Take care. Bye.
Bye.